very good afternoon and welcome to Market View. This is the final episode this week. It is powered by Firstbank. My name is Longile Makakola. Thank you for joining us. You can watch us on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV. We're on DSTV channel as well, 286. Today in the program, we'll be joined by the Chief Executive Officer at Firstbank, Benjamin Similan. He was announced as Firstbank CEO early June this year. He is former Eswatini Nazarene Health Institution. The CEO will share with us his experience, background in business development. He has worked with various organizations where he has focused on strategic growth and economic empowerment. Today, he will share his vision for Firstbank, goals he has set for Firstbank, and how he plans to promote technological advancement within the business community. We also want to find out what role does Firstbank play in advocating for local businesses and how does it plan to enhance this. In our news today, the Construction Industry Council has met different stakeholders to review the Council's Act of 2013. And later on our last segment, Sanele Sibiya, economist, who is an economist, will connect with us via Zoom for today's market analysis. Stay with us. For now, let's go for business news. And now for our news, there is an opportunity in the beef industry as local beef businesses are not able to meet the demand, especially for exports. This was revealed by the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Mangoba Khumalo, in a recent meeting with World Bank and Business Eswatini.
One of the shocking discoveries, Vice President, was they have demand internationally and capacity to slaughter 500 cattle per day. But the local economy is only able to give them between 200 and 250 cattle a week. Imagine the opportunity that is lost.
The Director of Veterinary Services, Dr. Xolani Dlamini, says they are already doing something to increase beef production, especially for export.
The markets that we have in the country, for the country, includes the local market, which in general is satisfied. Then the external markets. Remember that in terms of trade agreements, we have markets in the EU, markets in Norway, and recently Taiwan. All these markets are open for our beef to be sold there. So we have this opportunity. So it's an open opportunity. That means if there is an increase in the production of beef, surely we have the market to absorb that beef. Now, the ministry has a number of programs. One of the things, remember that the amount of beef depends on the number of livestock that is slaughtered, but also on the quality and size of the livestock that are slaughtered. In terms of the numbers, where we have pushed such that the population of cattle, remember that there was in 2015, 2016, we had a drought, and that killed 100,000 cattle or so. We have recovered from that. Our population has increased to 650,000 this year. And number two, we introduced feedlotting, and this now improves the quality and the quantity of meat that we get per animal that is slaughtered. Also, to improve on the genetics of the animals, we have what we call the bull loan scheme, and we also encourage the breeders in the country to also sell very good breeding stock to each other. So these are some of the initiatives. Definitely disease control I cannot even mention, because as a country we have tried to maintain our freedom from the major diseases such as foot and mouth.
According to the International Trade Organization, by 2018, the beef value chain in Eswatini was contributing 2.9% to the country's economy. For Market View, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
The Construction Industry Council has met different stakeholders to review the Council's Act of 2013. The Chief Executive Officer, Makawe Mnisi, emphasizes that the purpose of this amendment is to transform the construction industry to attain competitiveness.
Due to the gaps in the current legislation draft, the Construction Industry Council CIC and its stakeholders have initiated a thorough review. The CEO Maqhawe Mnisi is urging all stakeholders to actively participate in the discussions to ensure comprehensive input.
We have identified as a council some of the construction industry stakeholders. We have brought them to this place to just appraise them in terms of the progress that has been made with regards to reviewing the CIC Act. You will note that the CIC Act was enacted in 2013, and this now provides an opportune time for us, of course, being led by the Ministry of Public Works and Transport, to review the Act. Also, what is also being reviewed is the construction industry policy, and we're also intending to have regulations that will then operationalize the Act. But of course, also the key issue is in empowerment of Eswatini citizens. That, of course, will also be re-emphasized, and probably will need to have a clear framework in terms of how we also do that. The draft policy, it's emphasizing empowerment of SMMEs, so we do foresee that in alignment with procurement should be standing out. And we are happy because we know that the Ministry of Commerce is in a process, has actually been driving the enactment of the Citizenship Empowerment Bill, Economic Empowerment Bill.
Chairperson Sandile Makhubu highlighted that this initiative aimed to foster active participation, with about 20 individuals identified for their significant contributions.
We believe after today's session that we will be able to get people to participate, greater participation. We identified probably about 20 people that we felt needed to be spoken to around actively participating, because we are very concerned as the CIC that these workshops and presentations of the draft documents are not getting the kind of feedback that stakeholders like today's stakeholders would add. So the Act in 2022-23, Parliament did pronounce that there was a need after stakeholders had indicated some challenges and shortfalls within the Act, that maybe it is necessary that it be reviewed. So the objective really is that we update it and align it with the aspirations of the stakeholders and Eswatini in general, so that the Act that becomes law in the next couple of months is relevant to the times, is aligned with government, is aligned with the stakeholders, and at the end improves the industry that we regulate currently. So
the board approved the amendments in March this year, and the ministry has set a deadline for finalization by August. Reporting for Market View, Spiosami Gininza with Junior Adakwa Matapa.
And for our international story, lack of rain has drained riverbeds and left many without food in the southern African nation. Along with regional partners, the Zimbabwean government has announced there will be financial aid for the people affected.
A bed of sand and a patch of mud is all that remains of Kapatessa Dam, which once provided the water vital for crops and livestock in this remote part of Zimbabwe. The dam dried up in May, meaning locals haven't seen their usual harvests.
This year the rains were bad and the river is dry and we were not able to work in the field.
Poor rainfall, which is caused by the El Niño weather pattern, has led to partial or complete crop failure in most parts of the country, with a 40% poor standard of crop and 60% complete write-off. Due to the drought, some villages in the district of around 164,000 people have cut back meals to just 2 a day.
From our screening, we are now seeing more cases of malnutrition. They've increased by around 20% in the district.
The Zimbabwe government has announced funding for those affected by the drought in the form of a payout amounting to $17 million. ARC replica partners, which include NGOs, Africa Union members and the World Food Programme, have also contributed, meaning Zimbabwe will receive a total of $32 million. Zimbabwe's economic growth is expected to fall to 3.5% in 2024, down from 5.5% last year due to the drought.
10 minutes after 2, and that's it for our business news this afternoon. After the break, we are joined by FirstBig CEO.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu sivile sive sikhulume.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007*3*7#, or you can use Eswatini Imali. You can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any Nedbank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
Welcome back. You're still watching Market View this afternoon. It is powered by FirstBig. Speaking of FirstBig, I'm now joined by their CEO, Ben Similan, for a conversation about his targets and goals that he has set for FirstBig. A very good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I know that you have worked for various organizations in different industries, but if you could just tell us a bit about your background, tell us a bit about yourself.
Good afternoon, Mtombeni. Thanks for having me today. My name is Ben Similan. I've just joined FirstBig. My initial qualification is in the agriculture sector, and so therefore my interest was in agro business. I first worked for another organization called ACAT, Africa Cooperative Action Trust. Basically, they were there to assist the small farmers in terms of savings, in terms of innovative ways of growing, mainly maize.
Yeah.
And I found it fascinating. That's why I developed interest. That's way back 1984, 85. And then again, 1989, I then joined, at the time it was called Real Swazi Sugar Corporation, RSOC, but now it's called RES, Real Eswatini Sugar, as a graduate trainee after graduating in agriculture. And then I developed more interest in working with, again, farmers in a business environment this time, as a cane supply manager, assisting the associations, running businesses out of growing cane and selling it to the mill. most of them were successful in that aspect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you said, Mr. Similan, that you have more experience in the agriculture sector and you've developed a passion with working with farmers. What motivated you to take on the role of being FirstBig CEO?
Again, Mtombeni, FirstBig has a critical role in my view, which I found myself aligning to it. That is to hold hand with the small business and medium businesses in developing them, making sure that they get returns from whatever businesses that are trying to do. Yeah. That's what drove me, because I think it's possible. But there are challenges, and that's where we come in to hold hands with them and face those challenges so that they thrive, not only thrive, but they succeed in their businesses.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of challenges, every leader, upon taking a big role such as yours, has a vision. What is your vision for FirstBig?
It's true, Tombeni. I would like to see that there are about 5 pillars, which in my view, will assist us to move forward. Okay. First one being the capacitation of the businesses. There, what really we want to achieve is to make sure that they are well trained, they are supported in terms of how they raise finances, and also capacitation in terms of training. That's one aspect. The other one is membership growth. We would like the businesses the numbers to grow, so that at the end of the day, we all work together. Numbers do count when it comes to maybe making a joint efforts in mobilizing for resources, and also economies of scale, making sure that the costs are lowered. Yeah. So all those things are there. And also in the area of financing, which is a problem. So again, we want to assist them in mobilizing for funds for their businesses, developing their business plans so that it's the right, it's done properly, so that they're able to get those funds to run their businesses. Yeah, so now all those are the important aspects that I feel
you should focus on.
I should focus on.
Yeah. So you spoke of economic empowerment, networking as part of your strategy, to build FirstBig. I think that was quite evident by the recent Lubombo conference that you hosted last month at Stegi. How was that event? Was it a success? Was it beneficial to local businesses, the SMEs?
If I were to judge, I would say it was most beneficiary to the small businesses and medium businesses as well, because they got a chance to interact with big business and also with some government officials there. For example, one of the big businesses located in the Lubombo mentioned that to get services in certain areas, like supply of protective clothing, etc. They even get assistance from outside the country. When within the country, we do have people who produce those things and are willing and able to sell. But now it means the challenge is, how do they get exposed? How are they known? They are not known. They're in that little corner there. And therefore, that's where I feel we come in terms of also IT, AI, because if they are there, they can be seen. advertised in electronically, then they'll be able to be seen and they'll get assisted.
Yeah.
Another example which was made over there was in the respect of those organizations, companies that bid for tenders for government. Sometimes they feel left out. They are not part of the process. So we sort of agreed that they need to be called, all the businesses that do supply need to be called so that this process can be explained. And also they need to be schooled, educated on how government does procuring. We have the ESPRA, which is a custodian of that area. So now we need to educate the small and medium businesses on the expectations of ESPRA so that they comply, and therefore they'll be able to get access to those things. We also heard about a painful example there from one of the women who are doing uniforms for schools. They were given an order to do that. They prepared the uniform, big numbers. When they were supposed to supply, they were then told that the uniform doesn't comply with the school requirement. It has to have a badge in a certain way. But when you dig deeper, you discover that no, it has nothing to do with that. It has a lot to do with the school organizing another supplier because the school has an interest. And therefore, this one is losing out. So all those. So the rules of the game need to be publicized, need to be known, so that we don't have any funny stories coming out of that. Yeah.
Before I let you go, Mr. CEO, let's talk about technology advancements. Technology has become our best friend. Almost everything we do involves technology. So as the new CEO, how do you plan on promoting technology advancements?
It's one of the areas which we have already prioritized. And to that extent, we have appointed Dr. Lamini to head that aspect. Mtombeni, you will agree with me that in the next 2 to 3 years, it may not be possible to avoid technology. And if you still ignore technology, AI is taking over. If you still ignore that message, you are likely to be left behind in business. So we are going all out. He is heading that aspect, and we are engaging the businesses so that they are up to date with what is happening. And also there are so many. His Majesty has organized by demand from overseas, and there are standards that has to be met, and we also need to be up to date in that area, and all that is relatively important. And AI is key in terms of understanding the direction that business in the world is, the direction it's taking.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Mr. CEO, for sharing your vision and your goals that you have set for Firstpeak as the new CEO. That was the CEO of Firstpeak, Mr. Ben Similan, sharing his experience, his background, and also his vision and goals he has set for Firstpeak and the business community. As Batulete Magetes, Tabuya and Market Analysis.
Ujala masada mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu
sivile sive sikhulume.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Market View powered by FESPIC. It's 25 minutes after 2. We want to get into our final segment for the program. I'm joined by in-house economist, Mr. Sanele Sibia. Good afternoon, Mr. Sibia. Due to lack of time, now just give us an overview of currencies this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Lulu, and good afternoon to the viewer. So when we're looking at currencies, we can see that the Lilangeni has actually gained a bit of ground against the dollar and also against the Japanese yen. And so that's purely due to the things that we are seeing happening in the globe. And, with the world are waiting to see what the data will be that will give the US clearer direction in terms of their interest rate path. But we can still see that against the euro, we've lost a bit of ground based on the fact that there's some stability in the Eurozone and, the news coming out of London with the economy, that side of the globe really just growing much faster than it was expected.
Commodities, I see gold is trading at $2.3 this afternoon. Take us through these figures. Brent crude oil,
Thank you. So what we are seeing there in terms of the gold, it's most likely to go into. We are seeing it approaching the 2,400 mark, which is something we had put off the market because we're hoping that interest rates were going to come a bit earlier. But with the news coming out of the US and also with an interest rate cut plausible in September. So we are seeing gold taking its last winnings before, trade returns to equities. What we are seeing in terms of Brent crude is we have seen it, relatively in the same region, but the news coming out of China again showing a decline in inflation there and consumer demand. That side of the globe has taken a few points off of Brent crude, but overall with the expectations of an increased demand and an increased, with the rate cuts coming in September, hopefully. So then the markets are still pricing their in.
Okay, so moving on to international markets, perhaps we can start with the US markets, and moving on to Asia and EU.
Thank you, Lulu. So if we are looking at the European or the US markets, what we are seeing the US doing there is, there is a bit of optimism that has come back into the markets following Powell's testimony at Congress yesterday. That is, really just balancing the fact that, inflation is coming down and the Federal Reserve Bank cannot keep interest rates high because it's going to start affecting the economy negatively. So that, again, rebounded hopes of rate cuts in the market. So that's why we are seeing the S&P 500 hitting new record marks above 5,600 and the Dow Jones getting some 400 points, with the Nasdaq gaining some 200 points, so purely because of that. And we are waiting to see inflation data that's going to come out later today. If that inflation data comes out with a cooling US economy, then we are going to see more of a type of a return of the bulls to the market. And then moving to Europe, again, Europe is also responding to those news of, the likelihood of a rate cut coming this year, but also propping Europe is the fact that we are seeing London grow much faster than one would have expected. The data came out in London and showed that the economy performed better than what we would have expected at the backdrop of the service sector, also the retailers. So that's what we are seeing then. The relative stability within the overall Eurozone, that's what is propped up. If you see France is still at that level, but still below the 8,000 mark, while we are waiting for clearer direction on the political front. And then if you go to Asia, we will see that the markets again are moving to the expectation of a rate cut in the US. But when we move on to China as well, you can see that inflation has dipped a bit, and that has taken up some demand from the EVs. And so there's an issue of consumer confidence there to look out for within the mainland Chinese markets. But overall, the markets are responding to the positive news that are likely to come out of the US. And then moving to South Africa, what we are seeing there is, the markets are still holding on to that 80,000 mark, but we are still awaiting to see the news coming out of the US tomorrow to give us direction on the interest rate cuts, and then hopefully markets would start reacting to that, because we have returned fundamental trading instead of trading the politics in that region. And then domestically, we haven't seen much change, but we did see a change a couple of days ago, which actually shows that, our financial sector together with Ngonyeni Precast are actually the stocks to look out for in the Eswatini Stock Exchange. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sbiya, for that update this Thursday afternoon. And that's it for our program. This afternoon. We'll see you next week at 2 p.m. Have a lovely day and a lovely weekend.